Hello, everybody. How are you today? Are you great? Fine? I hope so. My name is Hamza and I'm a teacher of English. Today, I will talk about a very important lesson, which is about the types of sentences. As you know that sentences are classified according to their structure, depending on the number and types of clauses they contain. Sentences are classified as simple, compound, complex, and compound complex. So now I will start with the simple sentence. What is a simple sentence? A simple sentence is a complete sentence that can stand alone, and it is called an independent clause. Okay, one simple sentence is one independent clause.
For example, Mike left the conference early. This is a simple sentence. Notice that this clause is one complete idea containing a subject and a verb. Of course, you can compound or add another subject. For example, you can say, Mike and John left the conference early. You still have a simple sentence. You can also compound the verb, and you can say, Mike and Sophia or Mike and John gathered their notes and left the conference early. The sentence continues to be a simple sentence. The length of the sentence does not change its classification. In classifying sentences, you examine only the clauses, not the number of words or phrases.
Now we will talk about the second type of sentences, which is the compound sentence. So what is a compound sentence? A compound sentence, unlike a simple sentence, emphasizes the relationship of two or more main ideas. In other words, in a compound sentence, you can find two or more independent clauses with complete meanings, okay? And these sentences are linked using conjunctions.
For example, Emilia heard the news and she immediately called the manager or her manager. Here we have two independent clauses linked using a conjunction, that is, and. The first independent clause is Emilia heard the news, and the second independent clause is she immediately called her manager. So this is a compound sentence. Notice that there is a complete sentence on each side of the conjunction. If the writer were to leave out the subject she in the second independent clause, the sentence would no longer be compound and the comma could not be used before the conjunction. For example, Emilia heard the news and immediately called her manager. This example is a simple, not a compound sentence, since it has only one independent clause made up of one subject, Emilia, and two verbs, heard and called. The original compound sentence was made up of two independent clauses, each with its own subject and verb. And we can also link two independent clauses using conjunctive adverbs. For example, we have as a result, we have consequently, for example, furthermore, however, in addition, and etc. For example, we can say, Emilia heard the news, therefore, so we are going to change and by therefore. Therefore, she immediately called her manager.
Now we will talk about complex sentences. So what is a complex sentence? A complex sentence contains one independent clause and one or more dependent clauses. First, what is a dependent clause? A dependent clause is a sentence consists of the subject and the verb, and it is introduced whether by a subordinating conjunction or a related pronoun. And this clause cannot stand alone. For example, if you say, when I knock the door and stop. Hello? When I knock the door. The sentence does not have a complete meaning. In other words, it needs an independent clause to complete its meaning.
For example, after I resigned, the manager offered me a new position. This is a complex sentence because it contains an independent clause, which is the manager offered me a new position, and a dependent clause, which is after I resigned. A complex sentence can have more than one dependent clause, but it always has only one independent clause. Please try to remember this. A complex sentence can only have one independent clause, but it can have more than one dependent clause. For example, we can say, after I resigned, the manager offered me a new position, which I gladly refused. Here we have two dependent clauses, which are after I resigned and which I gladly refused. And we have one independent clause, which is the manager offered me a new position. Note, don't forget to use a comma when you place a dependent clause in front of the independent clause.
The fourth type of sentences is the compound complex sentence. A compound complex sentence contains at least two independent clauses and at least one dependent clause. As the name implies, this type of sentence structure is a combination of a compound sentence and a complex sentence.
For example, when I finally submitted my essay, my instructor was angry and refused it. This is a compound complex sentence. It contains one dependent clause, that is, when I finally submitted my essay, and two independent clauses, which are my instructor was angry and refused it. You can notice that we can, or in a compound complex sentence, we can have two independent clauses and two dependent clauses. For example, if I decide to go, I will let you know, and you can then decide how you will get home. Here we have two independent clauses, which are I will let you know, and you can then decide. And we have two dependent clauses, which are if I decide to go and how you will get home. The compound complex sentence is effective when you want to show the relationships among several main ideas. Since this type of sentence is the most stylish, applying it to your writing reflects a more mature and sophisticated writer. Note that compound complex sentences are typically longer than most sentences, so it's important that you punctuate them correctly.
I hope that you have learned the difference between the four types of sentences. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.